Firstly, can you tell us the main achievements of the Japan-German summit meeting?
Yes. From a Japanese perspective, Prime Minister Junichiro Koizumi met his German counterpart on the very same day as he officially decided to extend the term of stationing the self-defense forces in Iraq by 1 year until December next year. This decision may well be understood as another obedient posture shown by Prime Minister Koizumi to his American counterpart, President George W. Bush, who has just been re-elected. Over the legitimacy of the Iraq War, which broke out in March last year, there emerged a huge difference between the U.S.-led coalition of the willing, including Japan, and the so-called old Europe, including Germany. From a perspective of international society, therefore, the Japan-German summit meeting, which has just been held in Tokyo, might be regarded as a possible balancing act or a bridge-building act between the two groups. Personal relationship between Prime Minister Koizumi and Chancellor Gerhard Schroeder has also been strengthened, if not yet comparable to the Koizumi-Bush personal relationship. In June 2002, as we can recall, after the Kananaskis G8 Group of 8 summit, Koizumi allowed Schroeder to take on board the Japanese government's flight back from Canada to Japan because Schroeder was willing to watch the World Cup final between Germany and Brazil. Even about a month after the outbreak of the Iraq War, Koizumi visited Germany to discuss political issues, including Iraq. Later, in August 2003, last year, Koizumi flew to Germany, joined Schroeder, and enjoyed Richard Wagner's Tannhäuser in Bayreuth. In June this year, they met each other on the fringe of the G8 summit held at Sea Island, the United States. So the two leaders may well share a kind of we feeling on the occasion of their meetings. They regularly fly to each other's country for their bilateral meetings and meet each other at such a multilateral forum as the G8 summit.
And what kind of achievements can be expected from the summit on the cooperation of Japan and Germany for the reconstruction of Iraq?
Yes. In March last year, Japan supported the Iraq War, or American decision to go to the Iraq War, but Germany kept questioning the legitimacy of the war. In December last year, Japan decided to dispatch its SDF troops to Samawa, southern Iraq, so as to provide humanitarian assistance and help in the reconstruction of Iraq. Germany, on the other hand, did not and will not decide to dispatch any armed forces to Iraq. The means or instruments of reconstructing Iraq are quite different between Japan and Germany. However, they share common aims or objectives. At this summit meeting between Koizumi and Schroeder, the two leaders decided to take joint efforts to preserve the Iraqi cultural heritage and to train the Iraqi people. The two countries will jointly train the Iraqi police. Germany is now training them in the United Arab Emirates, UAE. Japan asked Germany to train the Iraqi police, who are now stationed in Samawa. Japan will make a technical assistance for the police training by sending machinery and materials for personal identification methods. This Japan-German cooperation over the Iraqi reconstruction is the fruit of their political dialogue since December last year. In December last year, Prime Minister Koizumi sent a very special envoy to France and Germany. Former Prime Minister Ryutaro Hashimoto met with French President Jacques Chirac and Chancellor Gerhard Schroeder and they set a joint technical cooperation scheme among Japan, France, and Germany. In February this year, Mr. Yukio Okamoto, the then special aide to Prime Minister Koizumi on the issue of Iraq, met his counterparts in Paris and Berlin and followed up on the December decision on a joint technical cooperation over the reconstruction of Iraq. The more concrete steps are now taken by Japan and Germany.
The leaders of Japan and Germany confirmed on a wide range of partnership at the summit, such as cooperating to submit a proposal on the amendment of the UN Charter with India and Brazil, aiming to become permanent members of the Security Council. Now, what are the significance and the background that led up to the two countries to aim for the permanent membership?
Yes. Let me put this summit meeting in the long historic context then. In the Second World War, both Japan and Germany were defeated by the United States and its allies. During the second half of the 20th century, mostly the period of the Cold War, Japan and West Germany became obedient members of the US-led alliance system. Both of them become a kind of great powers and now are called economic powers or civilian powers, namely significant international actors in the non-military field. After the end of the Cold War and in the 21st century, however, both Japan and Germany are required to seek a new constructive role in the world. Both leaders now agree to claim that Article 107 of the UN Charter, namely the transitional enemy clause, should be deleted. Japan and Germany have long quested for permanent seats at the UN Security Council. It was even immediately after they made the failed bid for the permanent seats in the mid-1990s that they started another attempt to get the seats. In May 1998, the then Prime Minister Ryutaro Hashimoto and the then German Chancellor Helmut Kohl agreed to cooperate over the joint effort to become the permanent members of the Security Council. Two countries have, however, slowed down their economy for these years. They might lose one of the strong rationales for their bid for the permanent seats. They might be afraid that this will be the final bid to get the special positions at the Security Council. Koizumi and Schroeder welcome the recently presented report of the high-level panel on threats, challenge, and change. This advisory panel was appointed by the UN Secretary General Kofi Annan last year. Koizumi and Schroeder welcome it because the report proposes the Security Council reform, especially an enlargement of the Security Council seats, and it may pave the way for two countries' permanent seats there. The high-level panel report made two proposals, either A, providing for 6 new permanent seats with no veto being created, or B, creating a new category of 8 4-year renewable term seats. The two leaders, Koizumi and Schroeder, need more, namely permanent seats with veto.
And lastly, Professor, can you tell us your prospects for the political relationship between Japan and Germany?
Yes. In the field of politics, Japan and Germany will also be able to cooperate much more, but without forgetting the historic failure of joint endeavors in the late 1930s to upset the then existing international order and security, namely the Second World War. One former Japanese ambassador to Germany, Mr. Ryohei Murata, says that the most serious problem with which Japan and Germany may face is their mutual indifference. He then argues that Japan and Germany should discuss more about great powers such as Russia, China, and the United States. This does not mean to upset the existing international order and security, but rather to reinforce them. The Iraqi reconstruction may be a short-term test, and the UN reform will be a long-term test for both Japan and Germany. Politically, the military instruments are not suitable both to Japan and Germany. This is what any leader of the two countries should bear in mind, I think.
Thank you very much for your insight, Professor.
Thank you.
That was Associate Professor Hidetoshi Nakamura of Waseda University, interviewed by Yuko Nomura on the Japan-Germany Leaders Summit.